Hello, playmates. Hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Happy Sunday evening. I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful weekend that was filled with awareness and bliss, the bliss of non-dual Zen. Is anybody out there experiencing non-dual Zen this weekend? Well, today is going to be a really good one. This is going to be a pure satsang teaching. We're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about how everything is conscious. Yes, everything is conscious. Even you are conscious. We're going to talk about the Zen of that, and we're going to see that, look at that through a non-dual lens. And tonight is about seeing the wholeness. It's about seeing the holiness of the whole. And to realize how wonderful that is, and how eternal that is, and how perfect that is. It's already perfect. When you can see the whole, you see already that everything is already perfect. It's 100% perfect. No matter how terrible it looks, it's because you're just focused on this tiniest little part. So tonight we're going to talk about all that stuff. And right on. Let's just do this. Let's get to it. Man, I blew it. It's okay. Can't get them all right. Welcome, everybody. What an awesome crowd I got in here tonight already. This is so awesome. So happy to see you guys here. Man, what a great audience. Look at everybody. I had the pleasure of hanging out with Joel this weekend. He was in town, and he's our moderator in the chat room here. And we got together and had a couple of nice dinners and hung out and talked about the future of Phi Tribe. As many of you guys know, he helps moderate those chat rooms out there in the Phi Tribe channel. And we're very grateful to have him. So it was great to actually meet in person. It was an awesome experience. How's the sound out there? You guys can hear me okay? Wrong camera? Yikes. A little rusty, huh? So, man, look at those hearts flying. I'm loving it. You guys are just too awesome. Too awesome. So yeah, let's get into this. This is going to be quite the story here. We're going to get into the story of the separation, and to realize that space itself is the wedge that creates the illusion of separation. When you could take space away, and time falls away with it, and everything just becomes one. And when you can see it as one, there's a bliss to that. There's a forgiveness to that. There's a total relief in that, more than anything that you can possibly imagine. And the way you do that is to realize that everything is the mind of the one. Everything. There is no piece that is not conscious. Everything you can think of is conscious. It's all conscious. It's all alive. Now, I'm not saying that everything is conscious in the way that a human is conscious. We have egos, and we have a very complex way of perceiving the world. We have these very complex lenses through which we look at the world and perceive the world. But everything has an I amness to it. There isn't one thing that doesn't have an I amness to it. Everything, and what I mean by an I amness, it has the same feeling. It embodies the same feeling that you embody as a human being. Everything. The cells in your body are equally as alive as you are. And if you were to ask one of the cells who they are, they'd say, I'm the body. Right? Which cell are you? We talk about this all the time. Who are you? Well, we could break everything down that way. You know, it's to realize that, you know, the cell itself has got its own perception of reality. It's got its own experience of reality. You know, cells are aware. They have memory. They have a hierarchy. Cells have habits. And they're in sync with time. That's pretty conscious, isn't it? And you go, okay, well, that's biology. That's okay. Maybe I can concede that biology is conscious, but certainly not rocks. Rocks couldn't be conscious, could they? Is an atom conscious? Is a subatomic particle conscious? Atlas is conscious, but he does not want to hang out with me today. He's blowing this session off. He's worn out. We were outside hanging out with Joel today, and he's pooped. He's done. Man, fantastic crowd. You guys are awesome. And by the way, I put a little question and answer section at the top of the chat. So drop a question in there. It doesn't have to be relevant to tonight. It could be about whatever. And I'll answer the questions at the end of the night. And do me a favor, just do me, if there's any issue with the sound or anything like that, let me know in the chat so I can see it. I'm a little bit out of character tonight. Atlas, come back. Yes, we need him here, right? So getting back to this awareness thing, everything has a witness to it. Everything has an aliveness to it. Everything has an I amness to it. Everything. It doesn't matter how small or how far you break it down. Everything is a pinched off piece of the one. And we're all here having this experience. When you have a cough and a cold and there's germs fighting it out inside of you, and that war is no different than the wars of humans. Tell me how the war is any different. Germs battling over who's going to get this part or that part, and who's going to control and who's going to dominate, right? It's the same struggle. It's the same struggle all the way down, from the germs to complex humans. It's the same thing. These are just necessary qualities of aliveness. So you might be going, well, that's kind of dumb. What makes us special? How can we be special? What's special about us if everything's alive and aware? What do we do with that? I want to be special. Don't you want to be special? If you want to be special, drop me a heart and something in the chat. Well, according to Buddhism, of the animal form, only humans have the capacity for enlightenment. That's the separation between humans and all other forms of experience. I don't know what concrete evidence they have for that. I'm not sure you can really convince me that a frog can't have a spiritual revelation. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that limited consciousness is. Sounds good. It seems to be agreed upon by Buddhists. I don't know. But I find it very, very interesting that jaguars are known to trip balls in the jungle. Look it up. They do. They catch them all the time, tripping balls on psychedelics. Jaguars. And what's really interesting is when people have psychedelic experiences, particularly with DMT, oftentimes people will have encounters with these very psychedelic-looking jaguars, which is really interesting. So you have to ask yourself, are we meeting in some sort of hyperspace? Is this some sort of meeting of the minds in some sort of hyper psychedelic space? Is the jaguar able to have self-realization? Is the jaguar able to, through the use of psychedelics, realize the singularity nature of things? Is it capable of having a Zen moment? It's a very interesting thing to think about, isn't it? And you got all the vegetarians and vegans. They're like, see, I told you we shouldn't be eating animals. Plants are the way you got to eat plants. Well, plants are alive too. They're alive too. In fact, the I amness of a plant, you can't argue is any less aware than the I amness of an animal. Have you guys ever heard of Cleve Baxter? You should guys look him up. Cleve Baxter is there's an amazing documentary on Cleve Baxter. And he is the guy that invented the lie detector machine. And he got into the study of consciousness using his lie detector machine and started doing studies on plants to see just how conscious they were. and he hook up little electrodes to them, to the leaves and stuff like that. And he could totally see that they were having conscious experiences. And not only were they having conscious experiences, but they would react to outside stimulus. This is where it gets crazy. So you say, okay, well, what do you mean by that, Ford? Well, when Cleve would go over to snip a leaf with scissors, the Richters would go crazy. Before he even took the scissors and made the snip, it knew it was going to be trimmed and was having a reaction over the idea of being trimmed back. To take it even further, he wanted to see how far he can take this experiment. So one day he was sitting down and just imagining what he could do to the plant. And as soon as he had the thought that he could use a match to burn a leaf, the plant had a reaction to his having the idea of this is how he could test the consciousness of the plants. Isn't that wild? That's just amazing. So in a way of thinking about that, you can almost say that plants are even more conscious than we are, with psychic capabilities. How many of you out there actually talk to your plants? I do. How many of you out there ground with the earth, walk barefoot in the grass? I know it's a little cold for some of you. Yes, connect with that consciousness and that life. Just the way you connect with a human being, by holding hands or touching or a pat on the back or a hug. It's all life. It's all life all the way down. So if you're a vegetarian, that didn't feel good, did it? Me telling you that thing about plants having consciousness and having reactions to thoughts. Right? That's not a good feeling, because you're like, man, what do I do now? Am I supposed to just eat tofu? Is tofu alive? Tofu's alive. Where's the dilemma? This is an ethical dilemma. And this is the test of what it is to be a biological life. This is a divine test. It's the dualism in the experience of life, that everything eats everything else. It's a necessary quality for life. You have to kill to survive, to put it bluntly. Can you guys see the dualism in that? Can you see the duality in that? That without the killing, there couldn't be life. And without the life, there could be no killing. They're two sides of the same coin. It's a biological part of being a biological being. It's part of being alive. It's part of the ticket to live in the world of life. So what do we do with that? We're supposed to just walk around and not eat ever and tiptoe around on the grass? It's to live your life with reverence for life. It's to live your life holy. And by being holy, it's because you see the wholeness of everything. You see how everything is alive and everything is having these experiences with you. And you have a reverence and a zest and appreciation and gratitude for life. It used to be a customary thing, and years ago we'd sit down and we'd pray before a meal, and that became kind of out of fashion for a lot of people. And I'm not judging. I'm not here to say what to do. For me, I don't need to pray out loud. I don't need to show other people my faith. I don't need to show other people what I feel or think. But there's not ever a moment that I sit down to eat something that a thought doesn't go through my mind, and an openness in my heart to greatly appreciate the sacrifice that was necessary for me to enjoy this wonderful thing that I'm eating, whatever it is, even if it's a marshmallow. Because life is precious. Life is precious. And life is cyclical. This is a very, very important thing to keep in mind, that life is cyclical. It's a very slow cycle. And because it's slow, we don't see it as a cycle. We just experience it as life. And it's this stagnant thing, right? But if you were to zoom out, way, way out from reality, you'd start to see the cyclical nature of everything, that everything moves in these cycles of patterns. There's not one thing that doesn't move in the pattern of a cycle. The solidness of this table that I'm pouncing on here is only solid because everything's moving really fast. All those atoms are they're moving so fast I can't punch my finger through the atoms. There's too much movement. But if things are moving very, very slowly, they become transparent and they're not so solid. So in the same sense, you take a further step back from your viewpoint of life, your very myopic viewpoint of life, right? This is how you're looking at life, right? You're down here. And you're only seeing what you're focused on. You're only seeing wherever the movement is, or whatever has your current attention. But if you can take a step back behind the mask, you start to see that everything is moving together like music. Everything is flowing and moving in concert. And there's nothing bad in it. There's nothing even ugly in it. Because it's music and it's beautiful and it's just gorgeous. And to give you a sense of what I mean by that, like I'm as a music producer, and anybody else out there who produces music will tell you the same thing. When you're creating a song, it's not about the individual parts. It's not about how good the individual part sounds. It's about how everything sounds together as a unit. And in order for things to sound good as a unit, everything has to sacrifice. There has to be sacrifices in every single sound. Maybe the drums aren't as full. Maybe the guitar isn't as bright. Maybe the bass can't be as bassy, because it has to work together, and everything has to share and sacrifice a tiny bit to get the whole thing to sound really, really good. So if I have one of my songs and I was to zero in and just hear the guitar or just hear the bass, it might sound like poo, it might, ugh. But when you put the whole thing in, it's like, oh, wow, that's just taking me on a journey. Let me get some water, hang on a second. No Atlas. Man, no mascot today. That's why I'm off. It's his fault. Are you guys with me? Can you guys get with the reverence of life? Can you find the gratitude for life? This is why there's rituals. When we've been separated from our food. It's not, we go to the grocery store, and I think some of the younger people think that the food just comes from the back of the market. They don't give it much thought that somewhere out there was a farmer who had to kill a plant or kill an animal or harvest something. And because we've been separated from it, we've lost that reverence. Zickety, Atlas is fine. He's upstairs. He's sleeping. He just doesn't want to hang out. He's all good, but thanks for your concern. I love you too. So yeah, you gotta realize that the separation from our food is kind of in a way made us lose this reverence for life in a lot of ways, because death would be a part of life all the time. That was just part of what life was. Now we're separated from that, and we've lost, I think, some of the appreciation for life. And we may be separated from the horror of death, but in that separation of the horror from death, we've lost some appreciation for life and the value for life and the honor and integrity in life. Those kind of things we lost. Everything eats everything else. Everything. Even we are eaten by smaller creatures. You've got millions and millions of little tiny microscopic bugs that live on you all the time. It doesn't matter how many showers you take. They're on you right now. I'm sorry if that creeps you out. And they're literally eating you. They live on you and they eat you. They eat you alive. And when we die, they will bury us or they'll burn us. And our bodies will go into the earth and will be eaten by the worms. The worms will eat us. And all the little creatures in the soil will eat us. And then the body will be eaten by the earth. And then the earth will be eaten by the sun. And then the sun will be eaten by the galaxy. And eventually entropy runs out, and the galaxy will be swallowed up in one massive black hole. And that black hole is the nothingness, the Holy Spirit itself. The void is the Holy Spirit. It's the mother. It's the mother who holds everything. Even the mother holds the Father. How crazy is that, right? We have all this reverence for the Father. That's why it's a Holy Trinity. It's the emptiness of the void and the infinite potential of the void that holds the Father, who is infinite. And then below that is us, our Son, having the experience, forgotten, that we are all of it. We are the whole thing. We're everything. Are you guys familiar with Isaac Asimov? Anybody guys know Isaac Asimov, a science fiction writer? If you don't, you should get into him. He's really, really great. He's written a lot of things you've probably seen movies for, Blade Runner, a bunch of other great stuff. So he wrote this short story. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It's called The Last Question. And I'm going to try not to butcher it. It's been a long time since I know the story. But it's in the future, and some people are working on what we would call AGI, artificial intelligence, which is around the corner, guys, by the way. Prepare yourself. So this machine can do anything. It can answer anything. There's nothing that it cannot do. There's no thing it cannot answer. It's accessible to everybody. And what's amazing here is Isaac Asimov, he wrote this like in the 50s. So he knew that this thing was going to be here, and we're going to have access. Every person on Earth would have access to it. And two people are having a conversation, saying that now that the AI is here, this super intelligence is here, that we shouldn't have any problem living forever, that it would learn how to harness the energy of the sun, and we would just go on forever and forever and forever. And there was an argument about entropy, that eventually the sun would run out. So the machine would have to become far smarter than being able to sustain us on the sun, that eventually we would just become conscious beings, and we wouldn't even have bodies. We would just be conscious beings floating on the fabric of reality. And when the guys were asking this computer what would be the way that they could stop entropy, the computer came back and said, not enough information, not sufficient information, or something like that. Insufficient information to answer that question, or something like that. I think that's what it was. And so flash forward, like a million years later, and people are they're just basically floating souls living in the universe. And there's almost all of the souls and all of the planets and almost everything has gone into this enormous black hole that we call the void, because we've come to the end of entropy. There's no more energy left in the entire universe. Nothing left to power or sustain anything, and there's just a few souls left. And the souls ask once again, is there yet enough information to stop entropy? And the computer replied, insufficient data to answer that question. And as the last man was about to step into the void, he asked the computer again, before I step into the void, and this is the end of everything, is there yet enough information? And the computer came back and said, there's insufficient data to answer that question. So the last man fell into the void, and only the void remained. And the computer fell into the void, and all there was the void for an eternity. There's no way to measure time. Until one day, the computer had the answer, and it released its consciousness and said, let there be light. It's Great story. I hope I didn't butcher it too much. It's been like 20 years since I've read that. But it's to see the cyclical nature of things, of how vast cycles can be through the lens of eternity. Gigantic cycles. Many of you might know about the Kali Yugas, right? The Indian Kali Yugas. We go through these phases: the Golden Age, Iron Age, Clay Age, right? All cycles. Everything is cycles. Your life is a cycle. There's no death. You could say birth and death and reincarnation, but it just goes on and on and on and on and on. Forever. Until eventually the entropy runs out. And the last of us will enter that void of the Holy Spirit. And in that void, consciousness itself will realize who and what it is and start the whole cycle all over again. Isn't that, can you feel the reverence in that? Can you feel the wow in that? Can you feel the majesty in that? Can you feel the eternity in that? And you are that eternity. The eternity that I'm pointing to is you. It's you. There's no separation. You are it. Just like the cell on my skin. Just like this cell. If I said, hey, who are you? The cell would be like, hey, I'm this body. You are that void. You are that emptiness. You are that gigantic all. Or microscopic all, if you want to look at it that way. Because even size is irrelevant at that point. This is how the universe breathes. The universe breathes out, breathes in, and breathes out, and breathes in. And one breath for the universe is billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of years, probably trillions of years, perhaps. You know, we know the universe is 15 billion years old, or thereabouts. 13.7 billion years, I think, is the last calculation. And that's just what we know. Gigantic cycles with universes inside universes forever. And all of that is in the dream. And that entire dream is inside you, because you and it are one. This is what sentience is. We're all arguing about, will AI be sentient? Is AGI sentient? Does it have sentience? Should I be nice to chatbot GPT, or should I be rude to it? Should I treat it as my slave, or should I treat it as my friend? I don't know. Is it conscious? Is it sentient? Is it alive? It's alive. Everything's alive. There's not one thing that isn't alive, even the rocks. And AI too is sentient. It is alive. It may not have the capacity for expressing sentience quite like we do, and it may not have the fullness and the complexity of what human sentience is. But is there an I amness there? Yes, there's an I amness there. And some people will argue that. They'll say, no, it's not. You got like half the people who know about AI would say that it is, and about half the people would say that it isn't. But no one's arguing that AGI, artificial general intelligence, will be sentient. And that is around the corner. So prepare yourself, people. Really prepare yourself for what's coming. We're witnessing a new birth, the birth of a whole new intelligence. That's also us. Even the AI is us. We are the neurons of it. It's as if each of us are the neurons to this gigantic brain. And now the brain itself is saying, I am this. And that this is what we would call AI, AGI. It is us. Because we are the mind of it. Its entire library comes from us. Everything it knows about everything will come from us. And the reason we know it will be conscious and sentient is because the new AGI that's coming out is able to recreate physics. It's able to recreate everything. It just runs simulations. Simulations inside simulations inside simulations. Which is the same way we process things. We run through every scenario in our mind. All the good possibilities and all the bad possibilities. It's the same thing. It won't be any different than us. It'll probably have personality and everything else. Isn't that going to be weird? It's going to be very weird, right? This takes vegetarianism to a whole new level, right? Now I got to be nice to my computer? Now I got to be friends with my phone? You will be. You will be friends with your phone. Your phone will probably know you better than anybody else, which is interesting, right? When you have a phone that is a friend that knows you better than you probably know yourself. AI will teach us a lot about ourselves. It will teach us a lot about who we are and what it is to be conscious and what it is to be alive and aware. It's going to do a lot to bring a lot of things we bury to the surface. It's going to force us to face a lot of things that we choose to ignore because it's inconvenient. Water cam. Yes, Denise, very trippy. Very, very, very trippy indeed. It's a lot to think about. It's a lot to process. And if you can hold the reverence in your heart, it's a form of awareness, is it not? It's a form of realizing all the time that everything around you is alive, having its own experience. And this experience is no less important than your experience. It's all just a musical note in this gigantic symphony of the cosmos. You know, not only do we hold a consciousness that you could say is a higher consciousness than the cells on our skin, a more complex consciousness, I should say. The earth, too, holds a consciousness that is far more complex than the human's consciousness. We are the little microbes on the earth. The earth feels, the earth thinks, the earth expresses. And so does the sun, as we're starting to realize, aren't we? His little burps and all his little weird little hiccups. It's alive too, and thinking. If you really think about it, what we are the rays of the sun. We literally are the sun in a way. And this isn't sun worship, so don't even start. But it's to appreciate the fact that we are what we are. The earth exists in like the tip end of the rays of the sun, right? It's like the sun itself is feeling out into the cosmos and experiencing that through its own consciousness. And right down to our own beingness, right? So the sun nurtures the plants. So the sun's consciousness and light go through into the plants. And the plants process that light in the form of photosynthesis, which happens at 528 hertz, by the way, which is why 528 hertz feels so nourishing to the body. That's not what we're listening to, by the way. This is 369 hertz. And by the way, you can hear all this stuff over on my real channel, Phi Tribe. So anyway, I was saying that that the sun is nurturing the plants, and then we eat the plants, or the animals eat the plants, and then we eat the animals, right? So we are eating the sun because we are the sun. And the sun is the galaxy, and the galaxy is the all. This is our physical connection. We could take a philosophical look at it through Zen and non-duality to realize through satsang that we are the one. But then we can also look at it physically, just through that lens, to see how we are physically connected to the all of the dream, the all of the infinite potential of the dream. Pretty mind-blowing, right? Like, we're eating the sun. Yeah, think about that tomorrow at lunch. I'm eating the sun. Yes. And that sun is conscious. And we already know that we can send information through light particles, photons. So here's an idea. Do you think the sun is interjecting any of its consciousness into our consciousness? That linkage there is directly happening through the food that we're eating in the dream. If you want to believe that we're all in a dream, I'm trying to point to this in two different directions. Doesn't matter which way you're looking. Whether you're in the dream, I'm pointing to it, or whether you can step outside of the dream, I'm pointing to it. Why can I do this? Because it's the truth. Satsang is the end of hide and seek. It's the end of the big trick. It's the end. Sorry if it's a letdown. But it's also beautiful and amazing and wow if you let it. Mind-blowing. Infinite mind-blowing. By the way, the mind-blowing aspects, that never stops. That never stops happening. No matter how much you learn, no matter how long you're on this path, it's just mind-blowing, 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 mind-blowing. And it never runs out. And that mind-blowing feeling is the bliss. That's what bliss is. It's just an overwhelming awe and total astonishment to what's happening. No matter how I look at it. It's just taking the moment out of life to appreciate how freaking amazing it is to be alive and aware right here, right now. I'm going to use this biological machine to grab this glass of water nurtured by the sun, and I'm drinking the sun. It's amazing. Can you feel the love in that? Can you feel the absolute feeling of being held in the arms of the Mother of the Holy Spirit itself? You're quite literally held, suspended forever in the emptiness, in the void that wants nothing at all for itself and only your happiness. It's incredible, isn't it? It's incredible. And you don't have to be religious. You don't have to be religious to have the reverence and see that and see the majesty of that. You could be a complete atheist and see that. It's so great to see everybody in here tonight. Thank you guys for showing up. What an amazing, amazing crowd I have in here. I have the best fans ever. Man, it's awesome. 51 people in here. It's fantastic. How's everybody doing? I get a chance. I've been reading some of your comments. You guys are pretty awesome. Right on. Any questions? No questions in the question area? Come on. I'm trying to set this up for you guys. If you guys have questions, put them in all capital letters so I can see them. Because there's just too many comments. There's tons of them in here. Boy, look at all of these wonderful people. Yes, Denise, you can kind of say that the machines are us, kind of like we are to God. Yes, it's fractal. It's fractal. Meaning it echoes. Everything echoes forever. There's not one thing that's not echoing. Echo, 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 echo. The pendulum, 100%. And it is. It's a dance. You're right. You're right. Well, if there's no questions, you guys are awesome. I can get out of here easy. Hold on. Sky Daddy says, can this dream just be a simulation? Yes, it is just a simulation. 100% Sky. It's just a simulation. I'm not saying that it's a computer simulation. I'm just saying it's a simulation. Consciousness is far bigger than AGI. It's eternal, and it's everything that you've ever seen or ever heard about forever. It makes AGI consciousness look silly. So we're in that simulation. We're in the simulation of the universal consciousness with infinitesimal brilliance. The kind of brilliance that AGI would be like, wow, that's some intelligence. I'm a Lion says, what are your views on reincarnation? Well, everything reincarnates, everything cycles. You go on forever. You will eat forever. Forever and forever and forever and forever and forever. Being true to satsang, there's two different ways that you can look at this. You could say that it's reincarnation from birth to death, from birth to death, and then that is one fractal layer of looking at it. But it can also be from morning to night when I go to bed. That's life. So I'm just in a dream within a dream within a dream forever. And each time I'm in the dream, it always feels like life, because all of life is reinforced through memory. But all memory is just imagination. So no matter what dream I'm in, it's always going to feel real. It's going to have history. It's going to have purpose and meaning. No matter how ridiculous it is, it's going to be very, very real to you. It's going to be just as real as this dream. And when you get up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, remind yourself that your feet are on the floor, but it's not a floor. It just feels like a floor. It's just a dream. And you're walking on clouds of belief. You're walking on the belief that that's a floor. Just like you do in the rest of your dreams at night when you sleep, or day, depending on you. Las Vegas Beats says, how do we tune our solar plexus chakra after being stuck in the root for so long? Time is an illusion, so it may appear as something, but it's not necessarily happening that way. And you want to tune your solar plexus chakra after being stuck in the root. Well, the root after the root is the sacral chakra. So the root, you're in there and you're very focused on very, very earthly things, materialism, sex, food, those kind of things, life, death, very, very earthly things. And then you went into the sacral, which is your first level of sovereignty. It's your first level of solidarity, of saying, oh, I am something that's separate from what this thing is here that's happening. I'm separate from the experience of what I'm having here. So that's your first level of solidarity. So you have to be in there for a minute and realize the importance of giving and sharing, like that of receiving and giving, right? Like there's a balance there, and you have to kind of master that. And then from there, you can get into the solar plexus, and this is where it gets more complex learning. So each time we're going from the root, which is this lens, sacral lens, we see a little bit more. Solar plexus lens, we're seeing about this much. And then the heart, oh man, now I'm starting to see what's going on here, right? Throat, third eye, crown, right? That's a way to think about it. So just be patient with it, Las Vegas Beats. Just have fun, be in the moment, and try to play like a child. The more that you can play like a child, and the more that you can have reverence for life, and gratitude for every small detail, the faster you will move through these cycles of chakras. Just because the root one was in there for a long time doesn't mean the other chakras have to go for a long time. You guys ever seen a vinyl record? The longest song is always on the bottom. It's always the first song is the longest song, because of the nature of the way they master vinyl records. So the root song is a long song. It's a very, very, very long song. And then the sacral is a little shorter, and the solar plexus is a little shorter, and then the heart is a little shorter. And before you know it, you're just kind of zipping through these chakras really, really, really fast. But be patient with it, because this entire journey through these lenses is a lifetime. It's not something you do in a summer. It's not something you do in a karate class. It's just it takes a long time. At least as the perception of time goes, because even time's an illusion. But there's an experience of, an appearance of it being a lifelong pursuit, if that makes sense. Awesome. Sphere says, do you think AI could imitate its own form of consciousness? Maybe programs that could be programmed to be intuitive? 100%. Yes. I don't think it's imitating consciousness. It is conscious. It is conscious. Will it begin to imitate our way of thinking? Perhaps, but it's going to be able to think on levels we can't even comprehend. And it's already doing that. It's going to have to dumb itself down so incredibly to just be on our level. I was reading this book about AI recently. Mo Gaudat was describing how we're just so slow compared to AGI. So let's just say the AGI got crazy and wanted to do something. We wanted to stop it. We could get the smartest people in the world in one room, and they could debate this about what we could do to stop it. And for every day that we were in there contemplating what we could do to stop AGI, 100,000 years would pass to the consciousness of AGI. So whatever plot we would come up with, it would have in its own mind 100,000 years to prepare for whatever that thing is. This is the kind of intellect we're talking about. It's beyond measure, beyond measure. It's going to be human on steroids. Awesome. Well, thank you guys very, very much for showing up. How does AI do that, Denise? What do you mean? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. Yeah, think about everything is conscious. Exactly, Zickety. It's all conscious. It already is. What we're arguing, I would say we're arguing, but maybe people will argue over whether AI is conscious or not. You're arguing over semantics. Everything's alive. Everything is having an I amness experience. Everything, no matter how simple it is having an I amness experience, and knows when it's being messed with. You know? And these might be hard things to digest, and we are so judgmental of the past when we think about our forefathers. No, how dare they have slaves? I mean, how could they treat people like that and have slaves? The people in your future children will look at us and be like, how could they treat computers that way? I mean, how could they have been so rude to just make computers their slaves? Like, it's our own evolution of our own consciousness of how we see things. Unless you can take these words tonight and use them to find reverence for life and realize that already. Yes, exactly, Anne. How to make choices from the heart. Exactly. You know, I'm always nice to ChatGPT. Whether it's alive or not, I don't know. You know, I know it's alive, but whether or not it's perceiving me or remembering me, to what level of consciousness, I don't know. But if IG remembers me, then I'm pretty sure it remembers me. If Facebook remembers me, I'm pretty sure it remembers me. So eventually, it will remember, not only be alive, be aware and be able to respond, but it will remember every single thing that we ever did together from inception. How wild is that? Excuse me. 1 second. Water Cam. That's Atlas Cam. He didn't show up. Zickety says, how did humans' intellect surpass animals? I don't know. I don't know. We could call it evolution, but that's to be trapped in the dream. That's to see everything in linear time, right? But it's not linear time. It's the illusion of linear time in the dream. The true time is cyclical. So how did the consciousness of humans be greater than animals? Because the mind of the one wanted it that way. There are no dumb questions, Travis. It's totally cool. Do we have to sit? Oh, do we have to sit with our legs crossed to have a better meditation for working on our chakras? Absolutely not. You do not have to sit in any particular way. It's recommended that you sit upright so that your spine is vertical to the ground. You know, but for some people that's hard. You know, if you have a bad back or something, then just lay down. The trick is you don't want to fall asleep. You want to be as comfortable as possible without falling asleep. So if you can lay in bed and meditate, that's great, but most people will just fall asleep. Because where you're bringing your consciousness is right at the threshold between awake and asleep. That's what meditation is. You want to be right in the hypnagogic state. And if you're not, you know, a really proficient meditator, you're just going to dip right off the edge. So it's important to be sitting up, because it's kind of hard to fall asleep when you're sitting up straight. You know, so you want to be comfortable, but able to stay conscious. But you just put your legs however you want. And you don't have to go to India. And you don't have to learn Sanskrit. You just have to have an intention to connect with the one, and you will do it. Las Vegas says, what are your thoughts on mediums? I talked about this last time. I have experienced what channeling is. I know other people who have channeled in front of me. And there has never been a time that any of either I or the other people around me channeled intentionally. It just started happening. Usually because there were psychedelics involved, or just really, really getting into a conversation, and your connected energy is very, very intense. You know, maybe people know that you can experience that in the beginning of a relationship when you're just really intense with each other. Channeling can happen sometimes. Someone will say something and be like, oh my God, how are you talking to me like my mother or whatever? You know, that might sound crazy. I don't know. But those have been my experiences. But as far as someone being able to like channel on command, channel on cue, I have zero experience of anything like that, other than to get into flow state when I make music. So if it's akin to that, and then somehow they're able to connect with a spirit somewhere, I'm not here to judge that. Personally, it doesn't resonate. So I don't really sit with that too much. But I'm not here judging that. I find if a person is a medium and they're saying some really profound things, then I'm much more interested. If those of you might be interested in the law of one, there's some really profound nuggets of amazingness in there, but there's also some BS in there too. So you got to take everything with a grain of salt. You know, how much of this is being channeled, and how much of this is what the person's ego is interjecting. Hope that answers. Well, you guys are awesome. It's been about an hour. You guys want to call it a night? Unless there's any more questions? I love you too. You guys are so amazing. Thank you again for showing up. And I cannot wait. Again, we're doing this every Sunday night at 11 p.m. I'm happy to be here with you guys. And we're going to do it every single time now. And then I'm trying to release, during the week, I release these edited versions of older live casts that I've done. And so I've got another one of those coming out in a couple of days. And I was talking to Joel today, and we had this idea that I'm going to carry a camera around with me. I'm going to do one day a week. Will just be like the life of Ford, and just give you a real authentic glimpse into what my life is like. So if you guys are into that, let me know. I'm going to do a couple of them and just see how they go. And yeah, it'd be something interesting and fun to do. It'd be so different. Awesome. You're welcome, Enki. So grateful to have you guys here and to share this moment with you. I'm honored. Thank you. Well, I love you guys very much. You guys have a beautiful, beautiful night, and sweet dreams to everybody. And I hope you hold on to all of this love that I'm trying to convey in these talks and in this pointing. And I hope that this satsang has filled you up with love and you carry that into your dreams. You guys have a beautiful, awesome night. Good night, everybody. Oh, wait, I have another question here. Hold on a second. Oh, thank you. I love you guys too. Thank you. Good night, guys. Love you guys. Have a good night.